Yo, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give call hello, Yahweh Bahashem, Hamashayak Yahushua, for giving me the spirit and power to do this lesson, and for giving me the spirit and power to wake up another day to show forth repentance in these last days, as we get closer and closer to Jacob's trouble, the great tribulation period, whatever you want to call it. We need to be growing in grace, as says 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 17. All right, because you see what's going on around the world. Time is running out. The door of repentance is actually closing. All right. But what I'm gonna touch on today, I'm dealing with James chapter 2. Now, if you don't know, Christians, them niggas love using James chapter 2, verses 8, 9, and 10, I believe it is 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, they love using James chapter 2, 8, 9, and 10 and try to make it seem like it's impossible to keep the law. When you break one, you break them all. But we got to use common sense, as in, when you go into the law, there's a reason why there's different penalties. Like when you sleep with a woman and her daughter, or a woman and her mother, that is a different penalty for eating pork. That is a different penalty for not wearing your fringes. That is a different penalty for uh playing with sorcery and witchcraft. Right? Adultery is not the same as eating pork. So there's different judgments for different laws. And even when you go into First John, when you go to First John chapter 5, so First John chapter 5, and when you start at verse 16, and this will help give you a better understanding that there's a difference in breaking the law. As in, like I was just explaining, it's not the same of eating pork and committing adultery. That's why you have different judgments for different laws that's being broken, like sleeping with a mother and her daughter, or committing adultery, to all the way down to eating pork and not wearing your fringes. What's the judgment for not eating pork? I mean, what is the judgment for eating pork? Where is it in the law? Where is the judgment for not wearing your fringes? So when you read 1 John 5 and 16, if you see a fellow believer sinning in a way that does not lead to death, you should pray and God will give that person life. But there is a sin that leads to death, and I am not saying you should pray for those who commit it. So he's giving a distinction. If niggas want to commit sins worthy of death, I'm not going to pray for you, because you know you're going to you're going to die doing that. And that's a lot of niggas in the nation. And it mostly revolves around women. You know what I'm saying? Niggas are die over some but JJ. They'll take that risk and die over a 5-minute nut. And that's just the truth. I'm just being honest. I've seen it too many times. I didn't see niggas fall out the truth. I didn't see niggas counsels of niggas sleeping with other niggas' wives. And it was a brother, like, he's at least seven different women that was married. It was like his addiction was like married women. That was his addiction, just running through them. James is saying I wouldn't pray for somebody like that. But if it's a sin not worthy of death, yeah, you pray for them and you try to help them, right? It says all wicked actions are sin, but not every sin leads to death. Now you do have, let's talk about sins leads to death, as in, like pork, right? I'm sure in a homeland, there's no judgment for eating pork. It says you would just be unclean, but it's a sin. So I'm sure if you kept being caught eating this pork, the priest, the judges, they would have a decree for you. They would have something waiting on you. Like, okay, you keep eating pork, bam, bam, bam. Matter of fact, and it made me think of Ezra 7 and 26. It says, and whosoever will not do the law of thy God and the law of the king, let judgment be executed speedily upon him, whether it be unto death, or to banishment, or to confiscation of goods, or to imprisonment. So you have different ways that they punished our people back, in the homeland. Back then, they had different ways that they punished people, right? And I'm sure there was something they had for you for eating pork. I'm sure it was something, right? But going back to 1 John chapter 5, it says, verse 17, all wicked actions are sin, but not every sin leads to death. So I'm sure there was probably banishment, confiscation of goods, or imprisonment if you just kept eating pork. It wasn't death, but the wages of sin is death, according to Paul in Romans chapter 6 and verse 23. Meaning eventually the Lord gonna knock you off because you just playing. You playing around with your own life. You looking at this is like, bro, there's no judgment. You know how Jake always trying to find a fucking loophole. They always trying to find a loophole in the law instead of just being spiritual about it. Instead of just being like, you got a whole bunch of niggas right now in the nation, got their fringes on and everything, snorting cocaine because it's not in the law. Smoking weed because it don't say thou shalt not smoke. That is loophole ass niggas. Niggas always trying to find a loophole in the law. Right? It says, verse 18, we know that God's children do not make a practice of sinning. See? It says, for God's son holds them securely, and the evil one cannot touch them. And these are the brothers that you see and that you will call mighty today. Mighty brothers. Brothers that's consistent, brothers that's doing what they're supposed to do according to according to sound doctrine. Being leaders by word and deed. Satan can't touch them. He can only put his hands on the one the Lord allowed. But those men have a hedge of protection around them. Right? And we get that understanding from the book of Job. Right? So it said God's children does not make a practice of sinning. That's very important. You know what I'm saying? Just because there's no execution on not eating pork, don't make a practice of it. Or not wearing your fringes. Don't make a practice of it. Because the Most High will still justify knocking you off. And that's a fact. And it ain't got to always be knocking you. It ain't always got to be knocking you off. Literally, it can be knocking you off spiritually. And now we watching you in the world acting like everything is all good, and it clearly isn't. You think it's all good. You think you still in the faith, but you not. You not, man. I didn't seen too many brothers fall that way. They fall and they be something happen in the world and they be like, see, I told y'all World War III is coming. Well, nigga, you gonna get caught up in that because you ain't been doing shit for years. You ain't did nothing. You're not even keeping the laws. You're not teaching the women that you with to keep the laws. You're not doing shit. And I'm talking about that. That's a personal experience for niggas who know better. So reading James, like I said, they try to use James 2:8-10. And I'm gonna read that real quick. It says, if ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thyself, thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well. Now we know how they try to mix and master this up to make it seem like loving your neighbor is whatever you want it to be. It says, ye do well. But if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin and are convinced of the laws as transgressors. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. This is what they try to use to make it seem like we can't keep the law. But when you deal with the context of James chapter 2, right? When you deal with the context of James chapter 2, it's actually going into having respect of persons. And this is what Christianity does all the damn time. Have respect of persons. They respect T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, Joel Osteen. They respect these people before they respect, but they don't show us no respect that's actually out there on the front line on the highways and byways, shaking everything up, man, turning everything back right side up. You can say whatever you want, but these people are waking up because of the work that we're putting in. Of course, it's the Most High God, because it tell you uh the Most High God, basically, he didn't need us. I think it goes into the foolishness of the cross, that how it was needful for us to preach this, even though he didn't need us to. He could have just woke us up, right? He didn't need men out there on the highways and byways, but hey, this is a part of the Most High God's movie. And guess what? It's working. It's working. People, you see the videos on our main page, people always driving by, Shalom, Israelites, saluting us. They want us, they trying to get us, they want our acknowledgement that they understand what's going on. They understand who they are and they understand what we're doing. And you do not want to miss out on that, because you really gonna miss out on it. You're not gonna be able to just slip in the door, of this feast that the Lord is gonna give to the men that's laboring for years. You're not gonna be able to slip in there and thinking he ain't gonna be able to see you. It doesn't, man, it's just not gonna work like that. You got brothers that started gritting on the highways and byways at a young age, 16, 17, 18. And some brothers in other camps younger than that, right? But it's going into having respect of persons. So when we start at verse 1, my brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, the Lord of glory, with respect of persons. You cannot say you believed in Yahushua HaMashiach and you have respect of persons. And I see a lot of niggas do this shit on Facebook. Facebook is literally what that is, respect the person. And I see it. Niggas choose who they want to respond to. You be having people with sincere questions on Facebook. And I'm talking about all these leaders in the community. People be asking them questions and they won't respond to 80% of the people that's asking questions, or that's just trying to get them salutations. But then when they see a nigga that's actually like nigga's hat matches fringes and his fringes match his shoes, then they reply to this nigga. They reply to them. Or even a man that's out there on the highways and byways. They'll salute them out of everybody and leave everybody else, without a comment. They don't say nothing to nobody else. That's respect. That's respect of person. You respect this person more than you respect this person. Now it's talking about in judgment, right? But you got to understand, it all starts somewhere. The same way Yahushua HaMashiach said in I think it's Matthew chapter 5, where he says, you calling your brother names, you committed murder in your heart. Roughly paraphrasing. You commit murder in your heart by calling him names. It all starts with the mind, it starts with the words, and then the real action carries out. It's the same way with respect to persons. You can just watch somebody's, they activities and see if they're a respected person or not. You know what I'm saying? You would shake up this brother, you would dap with this brother, you would share some, you would dap up with this brother, but then this brother over here, he don't get no love. Because you feel like you smarter than him and he not on your level. That's not good, man. And we cannot serve Yahushua HaMashiach, with that kind of mentality. We just can't. And I'm speaking to myself too, man, because it's very important. It's very crucial. And he going to go into it more. It says, for if there come unto your assembly, right, your congregation, a man with a gold ring and goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment, right? This is what James said. It says, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing. And gay goes back to good, the good clothing. Nice silk on, whatever he got on, it's fly. But it says, and say unto him, sit thou here in a good place. And say to the poor, stand thou there or sit here under my footstool. That's respect the person. You being partial, straight up, and we cannot do that, man. And it makes me think of John chapter 7, because even the Lord said it. The Lord didn't act like that, man. Only the Pharisees and only Israelites. I'm gonna just say Israelite, not just Pharisees. I'm gonna say Israelites in general. If they had the power to heal people, most likely they only gonna heal people they know. Most likely they only gonna heal people that they feel like they should heal. Yahweh Shah HaMashiach was healing blind people, people that you probably wouldn't touch because you would look at them as nasty. Blind people, maimed people, deformations. You would look at them as like, bro, I'm not touching you. That's how you would look at it. Yahweh Shah HaMashiach did not move like that. He actually healed them. He dealt with his people. King David, he sat amongst the lowly. It's not all about people seeing you and where the fuck your status is. Because that's what it is. Everybody wants to be known by their status and want to be known for hanging around celebrities, and like, who fucking cares, bro? They're not even real celebrities. They're celebrities in this world, but in the world to come, they're not gonna be celebrities. But niggas want to be known for hanging out with celebrities and being up there in that rank. And I'm talking about amongst the truth. Niggas want to be known for stuff like that. They have no desire to sit amongst the lowly. No desire at all. And I'm going to get that with King David, if I can find it. Right now, I don't want people to think that just because, like, it's okay to be around noble people, around kings. It's okay. But what this is going into is respect of persons, treating them different. Now, if you treated this man with this gay clothing the same way you treated this poor man with this vile raiment, got holes in his shirt, and his shoes don't look too good, that's a different story. But you actually got men that's treating the lowly of their people like shit, but then they trying to honor men that honestly they got enough honor. And then these would be the same niggas walking around talking about we need to uplift our people. So I'm gonna keep going. This is John chapter 7 and 24. It says, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Now, if this man in this vile raiment is evil, yeah, sit down here under my footstool. Yeah. The same way with the man in the gay clothing, though. If he's a sinner, don't treat him like he's royalty. Right? This is all he's going into in James chapter 2. Respect their person, being partial in the law. Right? It says, going back to James chapter 2 and 4, are ye not then partial in yourselves and are become judges of evil thoughts? Because you judging them according to how you look at it. The same way you do with women. You'll see a woman that's, she got the earrings, she got the, lip gloss, she smell good, she look good, and you will treat her with the utmost respect. You know what I'm saying? You opening doors for her, you want to take her out to dinner, but then you will see a lowly woman who really don't got nothing going on because she can't afford it and all of this, and you would treat her way different. But the one with the earrings and shit, you call her queen, all this extra dumb shit. But then you got this lowly woman, and really, to be honest with you, the lowly women, those are the ones that actually understand, what it's like to lose stuff, what they should cherish, because they got nothing but time to think. These women that be wearing the gay clothing, Bro, that's all the fuck they know is if this nigga don't, if he not doing what I want him to do, I know there's more men out there that want me. I know it, and I'm gonna lead this nigga. And they'll disguise and masquerade this shit under everything else but the truth. A woman won't never come out and say no shit like that. But that's what it is. She understands you are replaceable. And that's why then when they understand it, they take that shit way too far. Any of us is replaceable. Not according to God's laws, but in this society, anybody's replaceable. But they take it way too fucking far. I'm talking about like, nigga, you roll over and fart in your sleep, nigga, and they about to go cheat on your ass. They about to go hit up. They gonna hit up. They gonna leave a question mark in a nigga's inbox that been hitting them up for months now. They gonna finally get back up with him. That's just what it is, man. But going back, it says, hearken, my beloved brethren, have not God chosen the poor of this world rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom which he had promised to them that love him? You see that? They poor in this world, but they rich in faith. And that's the men that you see out there on the highways and byways. It's a lot of brothers that just don't got it, man. They don't got money to buy clothes and, you know, do all this extra shit. But these be the brothers that they faith is rich, man. They truly believe and the Lord is going to bless them. The Lord is going to bless them. Right up. So I wanted to go to get a precept for this. Revelation chapter 3 and might be 2 and 2. God, this is Revelations 2 and 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty. Right? It says, but thou art rich. It's talking about rich in faith. It says, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. So you have another passage where it speaks about us being poor, but being rich in faith. Our belief is rich. We truly believe. We don't have no other options. We don't have nothing else after this. That's what makes it as rich. And you know, when somebody have that mentality in the world, there's nothing gonna stop them from getting where they need to get to. There's nothing gonna stop them. When they feel like this is it, I gotta go all out. That's usually what they do, and that's what we doing for the ministry, for the truth, man. Week in and week out, you know, killing the old self. That's what it's about. Killing the old self and not being partial, you know, with your brother and with your brothers, man. You know what I'm saying? You will invite certain brothers to your house, but you won't invite other brothers to your house. And they don't have no record of no stealing or none of that. You know, that's the kind of shit he's talking about. You got to really think today and use your, you know, a spiritual man, judge of all things. You got to, you know, use the spirit that was given to you and measure it on what that looked like today, having respect of persons, being partial in the law. Thinking that there's, you know, just because you don't see no penalty on this law and nothing is going to happen. And that's not the truth. I mean, that is far from the truth. You are going to get judged. The Most High just going to let them stack up and stack up and stack up. Right? It says, hearken, my beloved brethren, have not God chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom? Heirs is, you know, you were selected for the kingdom. Like you was heirs of a will. That means you getting parts of that will when it's, you know, when it comes to fruition. But it says, and heirs of the kingdom, which he had promised to them that love him. And you also got the precept of 1 Corinthians chapter 1, where it says he chose the things that are despised, the things that are lowly, the things that are poor, roughly paraphrasing. That's what God chose. While you having respect of persons for this nigga because everything matches, you know, with his, you know, he got drip, Right? He got his own customized shit. You having respect to this nigga when the Most High God looking at, you know, somebody that you ain't never seen before. That's what the Most High looking at. It's the same way with King David. They thought it was the brothers. Samuel thought one of the brothers, the tallest, even Samuel. Let me get that account. When you read 1 Samuel chapter 16, 1 Samuel chapter 16 and 5, it says, and he said peaceably, I am come to sacrifice unto the Lord. Sanctify yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons and called them to the sacrifice. And it came to pass when they were come that he looked on Eliab and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. This is who the Lord choose. But the question is, why did he choose him? Why did he choose him? How can you just look at him and say, this is who the Lord wants? What was going through his mind? Did God tell him that? Let's keep going. It says, but the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, his face, his appearance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. You looking at his face, how tall he is, by what he got on, and he says, I already refused him. I don't want him. That's how man looks at it. It says, and this is why you got to be careful who you talking to, because you might be talking to the Lord's friend. But it says, because I have refused him, for the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart, the mind. You don't know what this brother going through with his transformation. You don't, the Lord could be really dealing with this man, and you haven't respect the person to a nigga that's transgressing. Look, it tells you this. When you go to Sirach chapter 19 and 24, he that have small understanding and fear of God is better than one that have much wisdom and transgress the law of the Most High. We just read in 1 Samuel 16 and 7 how the Lord looks on the heart, the mind, live. And it tells you a man with small understanding, he don't know what this man in this that everybody's respecting because of his wisdom know. He don't know these things. He can't break down all this shit. Right? It says he's better because he actually fear God for the little that he know versus a nigga that got all this wisdom and he's always sinning. And it's a couple of niggas in the nation right now that fit that. Niggas got all this wisdom, yet they committing the most heinous crimes. They criminals in the nation. So the Most High God looks at the heart, and this is how we should be looking. You know, that brother got a good spirit. I see potential in that brother. That brother, I think he gonna do good. You know, and having high hopes for these brothers, of course. Having high hopes for him, man. That's what we want to do. Have high hopes. All right. Going back to James chapter 2. I had another precept I was trying to think of, but I couldn't. So James chapter 2 and verse 6. But ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seat? Oh, that's what I was going to give. When you go to the New Testament in the book of Luke, right? Chapter 16 and 15. It says, and he said unto them, ye are they which justify yourselves before men. It says, but God knoweth your heart. See, we dealing with that again. God knoweth your mind. And it says that his, I'm going to get the precept in a second. It says, But God knoweth your hearts, for that which is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of God. So what you take and you deem highly, because these niggas ain't never lost in a debate, because these niggas, they can break down shit that you ain't never seen somebody else break down, whatever the case is. Or simply because you ain't never seen them sin. That's what's highly esteemed among us. But the Lord really zeroing in on this nigga and know what he's really about. Straight up. And the Lord has refused a lot of people. It just haven't been manifested yet. Some brothers it have, but some it hasn't. So I'm gonna read it again. And he said unto them, ye are they which justify yourselves before men, but God knoweth your hearts, for that which is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of the Lord. Now, I want to go to Sirach chapter 24 and 19. Is it 24:19? (23:19). This is Sirach 23:19. It says, such a man only fears the eyes of men. Right? You only fear the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men and considering the most secret parts. You see that? The eyes of the Lord sees everything we do. And he see all the fucking foolery and the self-glorification and trying to get glorified by the nation and not exalt his name. That's all niggas want to do, is just try to seem like they so wise. You so wise. But then you got men who have small understanding, yet they fear the Most High God way more than you do. But in your mind, you don't think, you're not even considering that. Because I really try to think about that. Like even when I have evil thoughts, if I have an evil thought, I always check myself with, bro, that could be a friend of the Lord. That could be a friend of God. That could be very much be a friend of God. Who are you? So going back to James chapter 2, it says, but ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seat? That's what. So James is saying, you haven't respected a person for these rich people, but here it is. These same rich people in these gay clothing are the ones that's oppressing you. He basically calling you a goofy. You goofy as hell. You sitting here having respect to people, the same people that's oppressing you. And to be honest, you're amongst the poor that you despise. It says, do not they blaspheme that worthy name by the which ye are called? If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well. You see that? Loving the Most High God with all thy mind, soul, and might. And the second, which is like unto it, loving the Most High God, loving your brother as you love yourself. And they tell you in 1 John chapter 4 and 20, if I can get that right quick. 1 John chapter 4 and 20, if a man say I love God and hated his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love God whom he hath not seen? And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also. It didn't say love your brother in the gay clothing. It didn't say love your brother more because he got more wisdom, or love your brother more because this nigga he got more understanding, or he got more knowledge. No, it just tells you to love your brother. Now, we just read in 1 John 5 and 16 how you got men committing sins worthy of death. You don't respect, of course you don't respect them. Of course, because their ways, they leading to death. Straight up. We understand it. You got to have a balance with this, man. You got to know when to apply what they call it, spiritually discern. You got to be spiritually discerned. You got to be spiritually discerned. That's why it's important too to always inquire about stuff. I'll always inquire. I'll always inquire. Always going to go ask questions. I might ask a brother that's younger than me a question. That don't make me that don't make me less of a man because I'm asking a brother that's younger than me a question about the scriptures, man. And he giving me the insight. We should all be asking each other. And that's another one right there. Niggas who they don't never ask no questions because they feel like they got it all. They know it all. The Lord is dealing with them. Them kind of niggas. I don't even want to be around niggas like that. But it says, if you keep going, it says, but if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. So now you see how from verse 1 all the way down to 8 through 10, it's been talking about respect of person the whole time. This ain't just doubling down on you simply you just transgress. Everybody a transgressor. We can't keep the law, so stop trying to. Because that's how Christianity painted. You see, we can't keep the law, so stop. That's a demonic ass doctrine right there. Right? So it says, but if you have respect to persons, you commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. Right? Like when you go to Leviticus chapter 19 and 15, we read Deuteronomy chapter 1, 13 down about setting up judges, and they should do righteous judgment, meaning their judgment should be bouncing off the laws of God. Righteous means you're right with God. Righteous judgment meaning you're using his judgments to judge his people because they're his people. Leviticus 19 and 15. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. So if you committed adultery, whether you poor or whether you are a honorable man, the judgment is death. If you say, bro, you put in a lot of work out here, we're going to spare you because you did so much for the Lord, man, we don't think he would want us to kill you. Nigga, that's respect of persons. The law says kill him. Now, under Yahushua Mashiach, we saved by grace. All right? We saved by grace through our faith. All praises to the Most High for Yahushua Mashiach. That does not mean keep sinning. So it says, I'm going to read it again. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty. So even in the law, it's dealing with a poor person too. So just because he poor and he don't got nothing, if the nigga committed adultery, that's what it is. You committed adultery, you gotta die. You can't say, man, I know you've been going through a lot, man. I can clearly tell you going through a lot. Maybe you just wasn't thinking straight. Nah, fuck that. He gotta go. He gotta go back to the spirit world. The same way with the man with the gay clothing. That nigga gotta go back to the spirit world. It says, thou shalt not show respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness thou shalt judge thy neighbor. And when you read Proverbs chapter 28, Proverbs 28 and 21, it says, Proverbs 28 and 21, to have respect of persons is not good, for a piece of bread that man will transgress. Having respect of persons is not good. The nigga will do anything. It says for a piece of bread he'll transgress. Nigga just ready to break the law over anything, little, small, don't matter, over a piece of bread. Nigga ready to break the law because he understand you're gonna have respect to him. You gonna show him, you're not gonna do shit. And that's the same way when it comes to, man, he just understand you ain't gonna do nothing. He clearly understands that. And that's not how we supposed to be, that's not how we supposed to be rocking at all. It's not how we supposed to be rocking, man. So I'm gonna read it again. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get it in another translation. I'm gonna get it in Proverbs 28 and 21. It says, showing partiality is never good, yet some will do wrong for a mere piece of bread. See that? Niggas, I'll do it. I do it, ass niggas. I do it. That's all you got, niggas. Hand it to me. I'll do it. And I ain't gonna lie, I used to be like that to a certain extent. I wasn't no fool, but you know, you just got that adrenaline, and you know, I'll get this shit cracking. I'll get it started. You know, having that spirit. All right. So going back to James, it says, verse 10. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. For he that said, do not commit adultery, said also, do not kill. Now, if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law. And we understand that. We understand that. And that's why we need Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. We understand that. We're not running from that. But to try to use this to say that we can't keep the law is not, that's not what it's saying. That's not good. You can't do that either. Because we've always been commanded to come back to God's laws. And every captivity we was in, and you know, every time we went back to the homeland, we was commanded to keep God's laws. Yahweh Shah never taught not to keep the laws of God. He taught us to keep the laws, but we keep the laws under grace now. So now that we're not being judged by those, the law of sin and death. When you read John chapter 1 and 17, it says, for the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. We're not under the law, we're under grace. So you have grace, you have that time period to redeem yourself from your transgressions. Straight up. You can keep the law. We can keep the law, especially when you got brothers around you holding you accountable. Solid brothers holding you accountable. You can keep the law because you got certain brothers. He's good over here in the dietary part of the law. He's better than the rest of the body. You got this brother, he's better at the moral law. You got this brother, he's better at the civil law. You got this brother, he's more knowledgeable in the ceremonial law. So you got different brothers that can actually sharpen you up, but a lot of you niggas don't want to utilize them brothers because you don't want them to see you in your partiality in the law, your sinning. So for the law was given by Moses, the law of sin and death, but grace and truth came by Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Now we know Hebrews chapter 10, it tells you about sinning willfully though. After you have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. You're going to get that judgment. And it tell you, bind not one sin upon another, for in one thou shalt not go unpunished. You're going to get punished for each sin you do. It's just the Lord might have mercy on you. He might have mercy on you, man. He might have mercy. That's up to the Lord. But when you dealing with this, man, it's not. Matter of fact, let me go to Matthew. I'm going to go to Matthew. Leave it off on Matthew. Matthew chapter 23 and 23. This is what Yahweh Shah was teaching. He says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint, anise, and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law. And the weightier matters of the law was partiality. Because it tell you, omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye have done, and not to leave the other undone. So the first one was judgment. They was being partial in judgment. Niggas that was supposed to get killed, they was letting them go free. Niggas that was actually innocent, they was killing them. And the book of Susanna is a perfect example of that. They took these niggas' word for it, and that girl didn't do nothing wrong. That woman didn't do nothing wrong. She actually honored God, and the Most High God came and saved her through Daniel. Straight up. Like I said, you had niggas. Just think about it. Think of Israel. They do the shit today. Like Kevin Samuels. Everybody wanted this man dead. But then niggas is mourning for King Von. But everybody wanted, and what the fuck can Kevin Samuels do wrong? He was literally exposing something we needed light shed on for years. We needed light shedded on. We needed it. You got people, man, they was literally throwing parties. Vivica A. Fox, she one of them. They literally threw a party to his death. But then they're honoring niggas like King Von. Spraying murals and shit for him, taking pictures in front of his murals. And this nigga was a known murderer. The FBI confirmed that this nigga killed at least 11 people. Nigga was a maniac, a murderer. But that's our people, and that's how they've always been. It tell you in Ecclesiastes 3:15 that the Most High God makes the same things happen over and over again. Straight up. So, Khan, I just wanted to get my 2 cents on that chapter. You know, get back in rhythm with everything. Lord willing, you was edified, even if it's just a little bit, whether it's a scripture or it's a certain point that I made, man. Until next time, shalom.